So if we go back in time, it's 2016. The Senate is like, we need some protections for genetic information in Canada. Trudeau's government was like, no, we don't. And the Senate was like, yeah, we do. Insurance companies lobbying the crap out of the House of Commons. And Trudeau was like, nope. Senate put forward the bill. It passes in the Senate, goes to the House of Commons, and it gets sent back to the Senate for revisions. They said that it's too restrictive. We don't like it. Revise it. Water it down. The Senate was like, no, we actually like it kind of how it is. We'll change a few things in it, a few keywords. We'll take out some other stuff. We'll send it back. It gets sent back to the House of Commons. We're now into 2017. Trudeau advises his party not to vote in favor of this bill. He said, do not vote for this bill. By the way, I won't be there for the vote. I'll be out of town. And they're all like, what? And so his cabinet does not vote for the bill. The backbenchers, on the other hand, said, nuh-uh, this is actually in the best interests of Canadians. We need to vote for this bill. They pass it. So the other part of this that is true is actually in this bill, because I had to dig through so much information to see who voted for it, what was included in it, what was excluded, what got removed. What was interesting is that, so insurance companies can't demand upfront that you do a genetics test, but if you have done a genetics test, they can require that information to make your insurance policy either null or void. So if you have done a genetics test and you have gotten treatment, like say you're in the case of Angelina Jolie, she did her genetics test, found out that she had that genetic marker for breast cancer. She had a mastectomy. And you didn't tell the insurance company that, your policy is null and void. So they can use the genetic information against you. The other thing too is that insurance companies don't disclose their recipe for how they determine like the rates they charge you. And so one of the things that the Senate was trying to get that genetic information not included in that recipe. And so that was actually excluded from the bill. And so with the bill, you can't be discriminated against. However, insurance companies at their leisure, if they have the genetic information available to them by whatever means, they can then use that information to determine your rates. And that's legal. So that's the story. But the fun part is that, so when Trudeau's not in the House of Commons to vote on something that he told his party not to vote for, which I thought was very funny because that's his classic disappearing act. Where was he? He was in Toronto, meeting with BlackRock, meeting with State Street, meeting with all these like very, very influential firms that we know today are kind of like monopolizing the world. I thought that was an interesting piece of information that, you know, he must have like went to that dinner and said, well, you know, guys, I've instructed my colleagues not to vote, but, you know, unfortunately, I think it might pass. And, but, you know, I'm here. So
I'll ask this question for all my liberal friends out there. I'll ask you this directly. I personally understand or know that the Liberal Party typically stands, especially Trudeau, typically stands for the working class, for the everyday person. Why would you think Trudeau would instruct his party to vote against a bill that would be beneficial for people?
So I actually missed out another piece of information because there's so much to the story. He claimed that it was infringing on the rights of the provinces to govern their own healthcare systems.
Oh, so he now cares about provincial provinces having ownership over their healthcare system. Got it. Cool.
So anyway, so that was the claim. So they actually, after it like passed in the House of Commons, he sent it to the Supreme Court as its challenge. Got cabinet to send it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court sent it back, said, no, it's fine. It's clear. It's good to go. That can become a law. And so it was like, he opposed it every step of the way. And like I said, it's because it's not in the interest of insurance companies to have any protection over genetic information. And so all of the epidemiologists and the doctors and healthcare workers are saying we need this information to plan for public health, so that if we know that there's a propensity for heart disease or cancer or diabetes in a certain population, we can see it genetically in a location, we can put resources in place, or we can treat people preventatively, or we can do all kinds of manner of different things. The other thing too is that people weren't getting genetically tested because they were worried about it affecting things like their credit rating, their ability to get a job, because they didn't want some kind of genetic marker to come out that says, you know, in 20 years you might have back trouble or something like that, and then be a liability for the company. So like they were very, very wise to put this forward and then to have this pass. It's only in the interest of the insurance companies and the corporations that this bill would not pass. So for him to instruct that, like it clearly shows where his allegiances lie. It's to the insurance companies. It's not to the people. And so that's the fun story of Bill S201.